Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's time for another edition of the first 5 games I ever played on. And this time around we're talking about the Commodore 64, my first ever computer. My first ever console was the previous one in television, and then we upgraded, and boy did we upgrade. I absolutely loved my Commodore 64 and played some absolute classic games, and this was one that I kept at my dad's house, so I didn't get to play it all the time because I saw my dad like every 2 weeks. So it was something that was in a way even more special because we didn't get to play it all the time. So when we did, we just had a blast. And like with all of the computers, consoles, everything in this series, you'll probably find there'll be a few sports games, and this one is no exception. So anyway, I'm not going to spoil anything. Without further ado, let's get on with this little countdown of the first 5 games that I ever played on the Commodore 64. Okay, so the first game we're going to talk about is Telengard, released in 1983 by Avalon Hill, and an absolute classic as far as I'm concerned. This was when I first heard about emulation and stuff like that, when I wanted to revisit Commodore 64, like years and years and years after I first ever played it, of course. Telengard was the first game I looked up. It was the absolute first, because for me this was the memory I had growing up as a kid. We put hours into this game. My dad did as well, even when we weren't playing it. He had his own character and everything, and yeah, it was just so much fun. I'm not a massive sort of Dungeons and Dragons style person really, but this game, oh my. And it came off of like playing the sort of Dungeons and Dragons games on the Intellivision, so it was kind of the logical next step, I suppose. And yeah, looking at it now, probably a very simple game for most people. Maybe even like one of the first roguelikes, if you like, of its time. And yeah, just an absolute classic. If you've never played Telengard before, I urge you to have a go. You'll probably find it pretty clunky maybe by today's standards, but back then, my god, it was revolutionary and a lot of fun. So we're going to have a look at a review. It's hard to find reviews obviously from these early computers and consoles, but we have one here. It's from a magazine called Compute, and I say it like that because it's got an exclamation mark at the end of it, from September 1983. And I don't know, should I read all of this? Oh, I might read all of this, why not? Telengard's a fancy role-playing game that requires a good memory, the ability to think quickly, and hours to play. Telengard is a dungeon, 50 levels deep, is littered with treasures and crawling with monsters. Your purpose is to enter the dungeon, gather treasures, gold and experience, and come out alive. You encounter monsters and traps, fall into pits, wander into teleportation chambers that send you who knows where. You have your strength, your magic and your wit to help you survive. This Dungeons and Dragons-like game, which is both complicated and intriguing, is available from Avalon Hill for the Atari, Apple, PET and Commodore 64 computers. It plays the same on any computer, but the 64 version, with its graphic representation of the monsters and dungeon hazards, has the most flair. Telengard's complexity is indicated by the 24-page instruction manual, most of which is spent explaining what you'll encounter in the dungeon and how to cope with it. Learning the features of the dungeon, the characteristics of the creatures that inhabit it, and the weapons and magic at your disposal is crucial to the game. Another complicating factor is time. On each of your moves you have a limited amount of time, about 5 seconds, to decide how to proceed. The world of Telengard does not stop if you are indecisive. If you fail to initiate the action, the forces of the dungeon will choose a path for you. So that's what I'm going to read that. I won't read the rest of it because we will be here all day if I read all of that. But you can read the rest, obviously. Pause the video, and yeah, that's giving you a basic overview of what happens. And that is one of the stresses about Telengard, I guess, is the fact that yeah, it doesn't stop ever, so you literally don't get that long to make a decision on which direction you want to go. So really and honestly, you want to be thinking about it as the screen's drawing up on you, because if not, you are going to get, well, you don't always get splattered. Sometimes you'll go in a random direction, sometimes you'll stay where you are and then a monster might appear or whatever, but you still get time to react to that. It's not like you will just suddenly get attacked or whatever, but yeah, it can be a bit stressful in that sense, but I think that's good, isn't it? It's what you want in this kind of game. It adds a bit to the jeopardy. And one of the things you do, you get experience for attacking or fighting monsters and stuff like that, killing monsters, but you also get experience by collecting gold, and that comes in various forms, like piles of gems, treasure chests, piles of gold, piles of silver. Even a pile of refuse is worth like 1 gold. But what gold does is, if you can find an inn and you go into the inn and rest, your gold gets changed into experience points, and then once you get certain amounts, you level up, your spells level up because you only start with 1 spell, and that's the secret to the game really. So really honestly, you want to keep finding inns because that's the thing that gets stressful, is like you could have like 20,000 gold and you know, oh my god, I've got so many experience points here, but if you can't find an inn, you can't level up, and there's the jeopardy there. It's a great game. I absolutely love it, and for this video I was playing it. I only meant to play it for about for like 5 minutes. I was on my 64 maxi. I thought I'll just record a bit of footage for the video. I ended up on there for over an hour and a half. It's like I was supposed to have dinner. I didn't end up eating dinner till after midnight because I just really got carried away playing it. It's amazing how quickly you could slip back into this game if you've got memories of it. Like I said, if there's some of you out there now that will probably play this for the first time and think that, you know, it's pretty slow going and pretty simple and all the rest of it, but trust me, a lot of good memories attached to this for me, and honestly I recommend this highly. And I think if you're into Dungeons and Dragons games, I'm pretty sure you'll have a great blast playing this one. Let me know in the comments if you've played it before. I really would be intrigued to know. As far as gaming memories go for me, this is definitely the first game I can remember being massively addicted to. I could honestly talk about Telengard for hours, but I won't. But I think it's best experience for yourself, and let me know in the comments if you do play this based on this recommendation and what you think of it, because I would be intrigued to know what a modern games player thinks of a game like this if they've never played it before. If you've played it, you've got memories attached. I'm sure you love it, or you hate it, either or. But it would be intriguing to me to know what a modern game player thinks of this playing it for the first time. Okay, so game number 2 is International Soccer from Commodore, a game which I owned on cartridge, which was definitely it brought a bit of a console experience to the computer, which was like I never really realized that computers would take cartridges back in the day until we got this game. But yeah, this was great. I absolutely loved International Soccer. One of my favorite football games ever was probably Emlyn Hughes International Soccer, and you can tell where they got the whole graphics engine basically was from this game. Now this game doesn't play as well as that game does, but for an early football game it was amazing. It really was. I absolutely loved it. It always cracks me up though when you look at it now, because like the football looks like a big cross, whereas back then it kind of looked like a football. We didn't really question it, but now you go back and play it and it does look like you're kicking a big cross around the screen. But the only thing about this one, it was like all football games from back then, I guess, you didn't really have like a multi-direction that you could kick it in. That's why Emlyn Hughes International Soccer, when it came out, was so revolutionary, because you could do that. But yeah, we had a blast playing this. You could play like one player against the computer, and the computer would have 10 different skill levels which you could select, and also you could select the team, and that's it. That's basically it, and then you just go. It's that simple. But playing 2-player was the best, obviously. We had a blast playing that. There was a thing you could do where you could like kick the ball up in the air to a player, and then he could literally run the length of the field just heading the ball like to himself, like just balance it on his head. It was hilarious, but that's something that you could do if you felt like cheating. But yeah, great fun game. Let's have a look at the review for this. It's only a short review, this one, and PC games, that's a bit of a strange one really, isn't it? But it is Commodore 64 that we're looking at. I like that it says joystick necessary. Plug in the cartridge, switch on, and you're instantly rewarded with sign-on logo and copyright message. You must now look at the instruction page because the screen gives no indication of what to do next. That's true actually. When I was recording the footage on my maxi, it took me a while to remember what I had to do. So it's the function keys. Yeah, and that was, I kind of vaguely had it in my head, but I wasn't sure. That it was quite hard playing it on the C64 Maxi's joystick as well, but that's another matter. I don't particularly like that joystick. And with the Maxi, you can't get, or I can't find any other controllers that work on it. There might be some out there. In fact, if you do know of any, tell me in the comments, because I would love that. Anyway, back to the review. Let's read this. In fact, it's very simple indeed. You need to use the function keys to scroll through all possible colors for the players to appear in. There's a large scale picture of the player on the screen, and you use F1 for one side and F3 to choose for the other. If you want to play against the computer, you use F5 to scroll through the 9 levels of difficulty. Otherwise, you play against the opponent operating the other joystick. Press on the joystick fire button and off you go. It's immediately obvious that this game will set new standards. The view of a football pitch is three-dimensional, as if you are in the best seat in the stand, and the players run onto the pitch and take up their positions. A realistic blow, the ref's whistle, and you kick off. You control the movements of your player nearest the ball by moving the joystick. He will take the ball with him, either dribbling or heading the ball continuously. He goes, see, I told you about that. The fire button makes the player kick the ball. It makes a very satisfying bouncing sound, and you'll be surprised to see the shadow which appears under the ball whenever it's in the air. The players being controlled by joystick obligingly change colour, so you can tell when you're controlling a different player. This is very valuable because one of the attractive features of the game is the way the other players run around the field. Goalkeepers are made to jump or dive by using fire button, but you must choose your moment well. Fraction out and the goalkeeper is left lying on the ground while the ball bounces into the net, and the crowd roar and clamour. No violence though. Indeed, the lack of realism is that there are no fouls. If you bring your player into contact with one who has the ball, he will take possession. The score is shown on the board along with the time ticking away. At half time, players and officials leave the field and return, changing ends of course. At the end of the match, unless it is drawn, the Queen presents the cup and the crowd goes wild. The quality of the game is best summed up by saying it gets even the cynics who have seen it all playing, and I think it will prove highly addictive. Commodore obviously thinks so too, as they are pricing it higher than any other cartridge in their range. Watch out for basketball. Yeah, I had basketball as well, and basketball was really good. Really good. This one's got 10 for graphics, which back then I can quite understand really. Sound 8, ease of use 9, originality 5. Okay, well it's a football game, isn't it? I mean, I suppose it's not massively original, but a bit harsh. Lasting interest 8 and overall 9, so that's good scores. Yes, I think it's one of those games, again, it's fun to play against a computer, and I did I can't say I did the majority of that with this. I would do nowadays, because I don't play games with people really, I play by myself, but back then me and my brother and my dad, whoever were playing, we would play against each other. So and I think that's where we had the best fun. I think a lot of these games are like that, and it's particularly the sports games. That's why I love sports games so much, because you could play against other people, and it was always fun like that, and it always made for a bit of a laugh, sometimes a bit of a scrap as well, because we're quite a competitive family, mine, and yeah, we were a bit like in each other's faces if we won and stuff like that. Yeah, it's all good fun, but you know, it was it's something you could definitely play with your mates and have a good laugh with. So yeah, if you've never played this, I'd say go back and have a look at it for nostalgia's sake. The definitive version of this game really is Emlyn Hughes International Soccer, because let's face it, they totally took the game engine on this one and made it 100 times better. So this is good for nostalgia's sake, I would say, but Emlyn Hughes pips it in the better games department. But obviously we're looking at memories here, we're looking at the first 5 games I ever played, and this was great. Okay, moving on to a platform game, Panic 64, which was a clone of Space Panic, if you've ever played that. I haven't actually, this is the only game I've played like this, and it was a blast. I absolutely love this game. Very, very simple to play really. You got monsters running around the screen, and you have to, every time the level increases, you have to drop them through holes in the floor, different levels. So basically level 1 you have to drop them 1 level and they're killed. Then you move on to level 2, you have to drop them down 2 levels, etc, etc. You know, the aim is to obviously avoid being killed by the monsters, also to avoid being blown up by your own bombs. You can fall down the gaps yourself and it doesn't hurt you, so that's pretty cool. But the idea is to turn the monsters into what we used to call strawberry jam, because that's what they look like when they fall through the holes. And an absolute blast playing this game. The music was insane. The one story I have of this one, the memory I had, is my aunt phoned my dad one time when we were playing this game, because it was left on the title screen and it just played the music over and over again, and my aunt was like, what is that god awful music? Because she could just hear it in the phone. So literally it became a thing that every time she phoned up we would put the music on to panic and it would wind her up. So it was just something that we did. But there was a memory that it always reminds me every time I hear the music. And it's a sort of music that when I hear it, or when I think of Panic 64, the music is just there in my head. It's synonymous with it, and it's a very simple tune, but if you've ever played it, I'm sure you know how it goes. Anyway, let's look at the review. And it's a very dark review, this one, so I'll have to zoom all the way in to read this. So I do apologise. Hopefully I've brightened it up a little bit in the picture by the time I get that all sorted, but it's very hard to read this one. Panic 64 is a ladder game for Commodore 64. With your bombs, you blast holes in different levels, which you then have to entice the monsters to fall through. Higher levels, the more floors they have to fall through to meet their doom. An enjoyable game, good instructions and addictive on tactics to help you score bonus, but we did have a couple of problems. Several times after escaping our pursuers and getting the monsters lined up, the monsters suddenly got into a circuit from which they could not be enticed so as to fall through our trap. The only way to break out of this pattern was sacrifice a life. Bad enough, but as this occurred mainly at the higher levels, it was sometimes your last life. We did manage to corrupt one of the sprites which make up the man, and it made it very difficult to line him up on the ladders. I'm not sure how we did this, but it did mean reloading their program and starting again. The joystick makes life easier, but it's not essential as in many other games. Get rid of the bugs and value for money is much improved. Instructions 80%, playability 20%. Okay, that's a bit harsh. Graphics 80%, value for money 30%. 2 stars. Well, they obviously didn't like it, but it's fun, and it's one of them games that I guess you don't play that much and for long sessions. But to be honest, when I was recording the footage for the video, I kept going back and playing again and again and again, so I did get strangely addicted to it. But there are moments of real hilarity. I mean, I'm playing it by myself at like midnight last night, and I'm still cracking up laughing, like when one of the monsters like managed to just avoid the bomb and get my side, and I was like, oh, I got nothing to do, so I had to literally commit suicide by blowing myself up. or you do a suicide charge at the monster. It's just like, it creates some funny scenarios. Let me know in the comments if you've played this one, and if you've got any memories of it. It hasn't got the best reviews either on here or on Lemon64, which is the website I go on. They only give it 6 out of 10. But for me, playing it as a child, I mean, I was literally 9 years old when this came out. It was an absolute blast playing it when I was a kid. I absolutely loved it. And last night, like I said, recording it for the gameplay footage, I had a blast again. And I'm not just talking about the bombs, like literally I had fun. So yes, please let me know in the comments what you think of this game, if you've played it, if you find it addictive like me, or am I just a weirdo? Which again is a distinct possibility, I suppose. Overall, I would say it's a fun platform game, and yeah, it's good. It's good for a short session. I don't expect anybody to sit there and play this game for like hours and hours and hours on end, but it's certainly one that you can have a blast with for half an hour, I would say. I keep saying the word blast, and it's probably quite appropriate considering it's mostly bomb based, this one, but you know what I'm saying. It's fun. It's a lot of fun, and you can actually play a 2-player game with this one. I don't know if I ever played 2-player. Can't actually remember doing it, but I think we would just have a go, and then once 3 lives are gone, the next person stepped up, because it's not long. You're not on it long unless you're really bloody good at it. But I mean, I consider myself fairly good at it, but I don't remember how far I got in the game. Even doing it for the video, I think I only got to the 4th level, so that's not very far at all. But I don't know how you complete this game. If you do, let me know. Okay, so game number 4 is Olympic Skier, published by Mr. Chip Software. Mr. Chip Software, that is such a cool name. Re-released by Americana, that's slightly less cool. Sorry to all American viewers, I don't mean that the way that sounded, but Mr. Chip Software, that is great, isn't it? Let's face it. This was a fun game, and it had the Ski Sunday music, which I absolutely loved, because I used to watch Ski Sunday a lot back those days. I like the way as well on the load screen, on the title screen, it says loading time approximately 7 minutes, just giving you a little bit of warning, which is quite an ideal time to go make a cup of tea, isn't it really? So that was quite considerate of them. This game is a blast to play. You do 3 levels. The first one is like a slalom skiing, so you have to go through the gates in the fastest possible time. You can complete the course by missing gates, but you have to get penalty points for that and everything. So what this game does is it gives you a score overall, and each of the events adds up to 1,000 points. So basically you get a score. I think probably the 2 skiing events give you the most points. I don't know exactly how they break down, to be honest, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like maybe 300 or 400 for both of the skiing events, and then for the second event is a ski jump, and I think that's probably got slightly less points, but the last one is downhill skiing. That's the way it's broken down: slalom, ski jump, downhill, and you get graded at the end of it by however many points you get per section. I think in terms of the skiing events, you'll get a score based on how far you get. So you won't necessarily have to complete it to get a score. What I like about this the most, which causes a lot of laughs, especially when you're playing it with like multiple people, is you get a rating at the end. Like you can probably see, I'll put some of it up in the gameplay footage. I was getting some shocking ratings last night, really bad, especially the first couple of times I did it. And also you can crash as well. If you press the fire button in this game, you don't go faster, you jump. And you will have to jump on the downhill over some logs and stuff. The slalom, you shouldn't be too bad with that because you can avoid the objects better, but on the downhill ski you will have to jump over things, and timing those jumps is not easy. It's not easy at all. Anyway, we will have a look at the review. This is a bit of a disjointed review because it starts at the very bottom of the page and goes up, so will excuse me if I read this slightly wrong, but it says great fun when played by a bevy of equally incompetent novices, as there is plenty of scope for ridiculing pathetic performances. The après ski will certainly consist of hoots of derisions duly prompted by the programme's assessment of bungling beginners' scorelines. That is a lot of long words there, but basically it's talking about what I said. It gives you an overall assessment at the end, and it's usually scathing, to be honest with you. The BBC's winter sports theme preludes the 3-part test. Section 1 is a slalom run with the mandatory timer. Part 2 is ski jump, a welcome change, and the last is an obstacle course weaving between fir trees with logs and rocks to jump over. There is a helicopter standing by to ferry casualties to the Elastoplast shop, also adding a splash of welcome colour. Considering the limited scope, the graphics are fine, the sonics are mainly varying degrees of white noise related to your speed. Presentation 3 out of 5, skill level 3 out of 5, interest 3 out of 5, value for money 4 out of 5. So not bad. That's a Commodore user review. It's only a short review, unfortunately. That's the best one I could find. It's very hard to find decent reviews from games that were released in 1983, to be honest with you, but obviously the quality of the reviews will get better as we move on to the more modern consoles and everything and computers, but I did the best I could for these few early ones are going to be ropey. Well, this will probably be the last dodgy one, because obviously we're going to move on. I think you probably know what comes next. I've told the story many a time of when I had the Commodore 64 slightly before I got my ZX Spectrum, so sneak preview of what's coming next. And Spectrum reviews obviously are going to be a lot higher quality, so that should be good at least. But yes, as ever, as I say with every game, in the comments please let me know if you've played this one. I really would be interested to know, because I had so much fun playing this. When I thought about the first 5 games I played on the Commodore 64, Telengard was the obvious first choice. Then for some reason Olympic Skier popped into my head for second, because I just remember having so much fun playing it. You know, literally you could crash within the first 3 seconds, and if you crash, that's it, you're out, and it just comes up with a big word splat on the screen. So it's funny as heck when you're playing it with like a bunch of people. It really is. It's just an absolute joy to play, and it's quick. You know, you're not on it for very long, and it's, if you can master, like I completed a couple of the slalom runs, which you're probably going to see on the screen and last night, and it's quite satisfying when you do that. For some reason I couldn't do the downhill to save my life, which was a bit shocking, but the thing is, you push down to go slightly faster, but if you push down too hard it goes like a rocket, and I kept doing that and just crashing, and I was just laughing away to myself. I think my cat thought I'd gone insane last night because I was just laughing my arse off. But definitely a fun game to play, and brought back a lot of memories playing that last night. And so we move to the final game on this list. It's Falcon Patrol by Virgin Games. All these games were released in 1983, so just there's no point in me saying released in 1983, because they all were. And yeah, a fun game, this one. This always reminded me of playing Defender, which was a game I loved to play in the arcades, because it's kind of similar but with a fighter jet. You sort of go left, you go right, you get ships coming along, or planes in this case, and you have to shoot them, and you have to avoid them bombing your city and stuff. The difference with this one, or the fun thing I liked about this one, obviously, is the aesthetics, like the fact you're in fighter planes, you've got a city to protect. But also, I like the fact you had to keep going down and like refueling and restocking up on missiles and stuff. But if the enemies have bombed all your bases, then you can't do that. So once you run out of fuel, you're done for. So you've got to really get those planes as quickly as you can. It's good fun. I started off, this is the first game I played last night when I was recording the footage, and I was shocking at the start. I was absolutely shocking. And then all of a sudden it just clicked. And then I managed to get in a bit of a flow state, but no, I didn't get anywhere near finishing the game. Well, I don't even know if you do finish this game or if you just keep playing it. But yeah, it's fun, and definitely, I think if you've played Defender in the arcades, you're going to be reminded of that very much. But with a sort of fun and interesting setting. Very colourful game, this one. I really like it. Okay, let's have a look at the review. It is on here, I can assure you. It's on the page on the left, just sort of like right near the bottom again. We're not going to read the page on the right, even though they do talk about Falcon Patrol on there, but we'll just concentrate on this one. This is from Popular Computing Weekly, so you can see I'm digging in the depths to try to find reviews for these games. And again, this is the best one I could find, so let's read it. If your idea of sandy Palm Beach lands involves a pool, sunbathing and a pint of draft pina colada, this is not the game for you. You must be sober, have all your wits about you to stand any chance of lasting more than 30 seconds in this fast-moving aerial combat game. The moment the software is finished loading, you'll be struck by the very high quality of the 3D effect graphics and the imaginative use of background and sound effects. As the pilot of an interceptor fighter, you must defend your city from strafing fighter bombers, which fly past at a tremendous rate with very impressive roar. To give you some chance of scrambling in time, you have a radar plot at the bottom of the screen, which shows the targets as bright dancing dots, similar to the arcade game Defender. There we go. With limited fuel and ammunition, you must use your skill to clear the skies of hostile craft before landing a tricky maneuver to refuel and rearm. Should you hang around for any longer than is necessary, you'll get a practical demonstration of the Big Bang Theory as your craft is reduced to its component parts by a passing fighter. For the really excellent use of graphics, I would award this game full marks, and it is by far the best Virgin has produced yet. Like that. That's a good review. And I agree, it was a great game. Lots of fun. The refueling part is difficult. You have to try and line the fighter up. You can go left or right, but to land on the pad, you have to go straight down. So when you're turning left or turning right, for a second, the plane will go straight. And that's what you need to do. You have to get that lined up over the building. To be honest, I didn't have too much trouble when I did it last night. But I seem to remember back in the day when I was a kid playing it, I did have quite a lot of trouble doing that. And more often than not, I'd end up crashing when I was trying to refuel. So didn't have too much trouble doing it last night. But the there were a few moments. There's a bit of tactics involved with that too when you're refueling, because the bombers will reappear while you're on the fueling pad, so you can choose whether to risk letting them fly over and drop a bomb on your head, or to totally refuel and rearm, or you can sort of like pull up before you're fully fueled and fully armed. So it's a little bit of tactics there. I mean, yeah, nothing really that tactical, but you know, just a little bit to think about, and it's good fun. Please do let me know what you think of Falcon Patrol, how many times you've played this. If you played it when you was a kid like me, I'm sure there's lots of us similar ages, aren't we? So I guess you probably did. I have lots of memories of this game. I remember like my nan's new husband. My nan got remarried when she was like in her 70s, and this guy Harry, he was just an absolute legend. I mean, some of the stories that my family still tell about Harry, it's just like funny. But he couldn't get his head around it. He turned up one day and saw us playing this game, and he was just enthralled by it. He was absolutely enthralled. That was the same day that he came into the bedroom to tell us to get ready, because they were getting us to lift home, and his false teeth flew out across the room. So this guy, the stories of this guy, I swear to God, legendary. But that's probably for another time and a totally different video. But I could sit here all day and talk about Harry, but this game always reminds me of him because of his reaction to it. So yeah, but a great game. And like I said, if you're into Defender, that sort of thing, I think you'll enjoy playing this one if you've never played it before. So there we have it. They are the first 5 games I played on the Commodore 64, and those games again were Telengard, International Soccer, Panic 64, Olympic Skier, and Falcon Patrol. And I think you'll agree, quite a mixture of genres there, to say the least. And yeah, lots of memories for me. Hope there's some memories there for you guys too. I hope you played some of these games. Let me know in the comments. As always, if you did, I got hours of fun from all of these games. I mean, maybe not Olympic Skier as much, because that was one that was pretty much bang 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 and then done, you know, sort of thing. You could probably put up with about 10 minutes of like constantly crashing in that game, and then you would have to move on to something else. But the rest of them were all pretty much like long haul games. Games that I did play a lot, particularly the first 2, Telenar and International Soccer. I absolutely played those games to death. So let me know in the comments if you played any of these games, and also let me know if like these were maybe your first experiences, and also what were your first experiences on the Commodore 64. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.